All right, sounds good. So welcome everybody. We have updates, general updates first, and then a discussion by our Sonoma Weed Management Area Group. And then Marshall Tuberville will be in to give us a wildfire season, fire season update and outlook. And so let's go ahead and go around the room and then join folks online. Let's start with Mim. Could you please introduce yourself and let us know what's going on?
Yes, I'm Mim Allison. I'm a landowner in the west part of the county on Marisbury Road. And I'm a member of the Central Sonoma Coast Firewise Committee. And we have a Firewise event coming up at the end of next week on Friday at the Stillwater Cove Regional Park, where Brooke Edwards is going to give us a tour of the shaded fuel break that was created last year and give us an update about what's going to happen this year. And we're hoping that this kind of show and tell format might inspire our attendees or landowners and homeowners to do some defensible space activities on their own lands.
That's great.
I have some flyers here or some copies of our information. If anybody would like some to spread it around in your own neighborhoods, I'd be happy to share with you.
That sounds good. I think
There's a very nice job of putting things like that in our notes so that people can ask.
Okay, I'll give a copy to Rose.
Yeah,
So
please,
if you
good.
can provide something to Rose.
I think it's already been posted in the newsletter, if I'm not mistaken.
Stillwater Cove event was in there, but I can send it out to the listserv. Yeah, so I'll get that from you.
Thank you. All right, Lynn, do you want to go next?
And then in Sonoma, I've been doing volunteer work on Montini Preserve and the cemetery there, which is mostly involved weed whacking and then weed whacking again. Then in between weed whacking episodes, I've been pulling some broom.
Oh, wow.
Pretty good passionate there.
Yeah, right. There was a prescribed burn there last season. Are there plans to do another this year?
I've been trying to find out about that.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be June and then maybe September. And then maybe next year, and I'm kind of hoping that it's this September because
right.
we needed some protection on that hill a long time.
Great. Lynn's been one of our stalwart volunteers up at Calabasas Creek Open Space Preserve as well. So it's great to have you. Let's go to Jason Mills online.
Hey, thanks, Kim. What's up, everybody? Yeah, we've been busy as usual. I guess first, before I forget, I want to promote the Forest Working Group field trip I'm hoping to guide up on our site up in Healdsburg, up Palmer Creek, next Saturday, the 30th, from 10 to noon. I really want to show off the crew's hard work where we manually remove 15 acres of broom up there to protect the understory and take out all that ladder fuel. And it was a great project. Lately, we have been trying to stay on top of other invasive species. We've been hopping all over for the broom, but lately we've been working on like a 4-acre population of oblong spurge up on the Napa Ridge, a really nasty post-fight understory species that spreads rhizominously and through seed. So it's rapidly spreading. So pretty happy to be leading the chemical spray to effectively knock that out. And then, another great thing we did was Broomapalooza this last Saturday out there with Coast Ridge Forest Council. Really nice group of volunteers. I think there was about 30 or so. And we got, I don't know, a half an acre pulled in 2 hours. So it was good to be a part of that event. And then I'm also helping out SEC with some planning work. Bren, I see you there. We've been collaborating on the Western Gravel upcoming site. And it's been cool helping out with the botanical and wildlife surveys to kind of get the protocols in place to clear the work. So lots going on. Super happy to be here. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thanks, Jason. Let's go to Patty in the room.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm with Sonoma RCD.
We have been invited to submit an application for the Forest Health Grant, so we're led by Conservation Works, and we're doing that with Gold Ridge. The North Bay Forest Improvement Program, next batch opens for implementation opens on July 8th and will be open for about a month. What is that? I can't even read my own notes. We'll skip that one. The Fire Alliance is having a barbecue on May 31st at Spring Lake. So please join us. It's going to be fun. We'll supply hamburgers and veggie burgers, and then the rest is a potluck. And if you want information, please let me know. And finally, we're working with the Water Board on the Gualala DMDL. There's going to be a community meeting on June 18th at the Lake Sonoma Visitor Center from 10 to 12. And then also we've opened up, not for public comment, but just for public viewing, the TAC meetings. And there's going to be one on June 3rd from 11 to 12:30. Again, if you want that information, it's on the Water Board's website. It's going to be on our website, or you can contact me. I'd be happy to give you.
Patty, can you just say what that acronym means? The what meetings?
TAC, sorry, Technical Advisory Committee. We're developing the reports for doing road assessments up on the Gualala watershed. Thanks. That's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Great. Let's go to Judy, please.
Well, we've been busy, and some of what we've been doing overlaps with what Patty was just talking about, the work in the Gualala. Jason Wells, the Broomapalooza. You know, I mean, it was great to pull all the broom, but, you know, our partners at PPI, they did a fabulous job providing food for everyone afterward, and had some live music there, and that was a lot of fun. We also met with Jason Wells and group up in Annapolis for a site visit up there this weekend. And so we're working on building these partnerships throughout the coast, along the coast. We'll be not hosting, but coordinating a site visit to Shelterwood. I don't know how many of you are familiar with them. That'll be in August. And to see the work that they've done. They have just completed a forest health grant of prescribed burn on their property. So we're coordinating that right now. And just a lot of things going on. One of the things that I know I had announced that I was going to be retiring.
You changed your mind.
I changed my mind.
Oh.
Well, you know, we were awarded the capacity grant through NCRP, you know, which we are just, you know, extremely grateful and honored, you know, to be selected among so many, you know, deserving organizations. But when I was up there and I was speaking with Rose, one of the NCRP staff, she said, well, you are going to stay on and advise, you know, through this transition, because you're going to see that this grant is really going to open things up and things are going to move fast. And so after giving it some thought, I thought, well, if I'm going to advise, there's no way I'm going to be able to step back from a leadership role. And so I decided to stay on for another year. But what we'll be doing is we will be hiring. We'll be doing some hires. One of them is going to be a program admin assistant who will take on a lot of the administrative work that I've been doing, but also some program work. And so we'll be putting the announcement out, looking for someone, you know, with some GIS skills, maybe someone who is finishing the NRM program or a forestry program and is just looking to get their feet wet in a community forest nonprofit. And so we're excited about that. That was one of the conditions of my staying, was that we hire someone to take on a lot of the work that I've been doing. And also as a result of that, to kind of streamline our planning, we're working with Mark Tupman on developing a project dashboard. And that'll help, as well. And so we have another project going on in Timber Cove, a survey that Matt Green developed, which was also surveying all of the residents there and how we can, build upon that from the ground level up to the project level. Because right now we're working with 3 fire protection districts. We have an MOU with the Walla River Watershed Council. We're working now more closely with North Sonoma Coast. And being up there this Saturday, we kind of worked on, how we can strengthen that relationship. It was interesting, Marshall, to have Bro Miller give the CAL FIRE talk, and who is up there with CAL FIRE and who I've known since he was born, and and listening to him, we were like, oh, you're kind of like Marshall, only the North Marshall. He gave the talk on wildfire and what I expect we'll hear today. And so, and all of the other stuff we can just save till later because it's got a big program today.
Okay,
So
good.
thank you,
Judy.
for
Appreciate that.
letting me go on and on.
Yeah, no, nice. Let's go to online. We have Bryn Miller next.
Morning, everybody. My name is Bryn Miller. I'm a project manager at Sonoma Ecology Center. I heard mention of a Montini burn earlier in the updates. A quick update from SEC's end. We've been working with Mason Lewis from Sonoma Valley Fire, thinking about when a good time for the next burn might be. We saw a pretty big proliferation of thistle in the burn footprint, and at first it looked like the oak trees might have been a bit more impacted than we might have wanted in a spring burn. So we asked Mason if he'd be okay with holding off until the fall of this year at the earliest to do another burn, since we wanted to make sure that the ecological impacts were what we were all looking for on all ends. Other updates on our end, Jason mentioned the Western Gravel Project kickoff. That's been really great working with him and some of his wildlife biologist colleagues to get some of the survey work done. We've been working with CCNB and Sonoma Valley Fire to just come up with some of the final planning steps we need there, and coordinating with Grayton Rancheria on their preferences for project monitoring. And I'm really hopeful that we can be starting work in the next couple weeks out there. In other news, we're also preparing for some grant applications for work above the city of Sonoma and the Sonoma Springs. We got invited for the Prop 4 Forest Health Program solicitation, so we're excited to be putting that together over the next few weeks, and also hoping to put in a grant for prevention around the same time. And finally, we're working with Brock and Monona from Regional Parks and Brock from OAEC to do some planning for process-based restoration in Sonoma Valley Regional Park, which I think should be really fun to figure out exactly what we want to do in that area. That's it for me.
All right, thank you, Bryn.
Bert, is there something you're doing with the Napa Firewise Foundation that you want to talk about now or later?
Who is that? Who asked that question? Just so I can.
It was Dee Thornhauser.
Hi, Dee. Nothing I think we want to share at the moment. I've been working and having conversations with Joe Nordlinger and his team about some of the good ideas they have over in Napa, but nothing that we're doing is super concrete and worth sharing out at the moment. But thank you for the question.
Well, they're working on a cross-boundary, idea. We can finally erase those darn boundaries. There you go.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to, actually, Dee, why don't you go next?
Okay. I'm Dee Swanheiser, and I'm a member of the group here, and I'm also representing the Taking Action for Living Systems, and we're working on finding private funding to augment and support the public funding for private landowners in particular. And I was at the Annapolis a tour up there, looking at a forest that needs work and and looking at a forest that was being really cared for through a grant. And also, there were two watersheds represented. There was the Gualala River, and then the one that I'm with is the Lake Sonoma one.
Yeah.
And they're neighbors, and so they have work they're doing, but now they've been ongoingly, I think, communicating and collaborating. But I just think that the idea that we are doing that more and more is worthy of mention. And I think that we should somehow get attention to what this group has been doing for over 20 years. This collaboration, finding funding, and creating jobs. And I don't know who is keeping track of how many jobs that we have, been a part of, but I think that's a really important component of our work that we are already doing. It's not that it's a good idea. So I'm hoping to inspire somebody to contact the media and do some really, celebrating and inspiring and encouraging. And lastly, maybe not lastly, I'm working with the Napa Firewise Foundation and Greenbelt Alliance on finding private funding. And Joe is totally engaged and a board member from Greenbelt Alliance. And so I'm very pleased about that. And lastly, I made a big goof today. I had a 10 o'clock appointment at a coffee house across from the JC with someone that I think she's from the Wildlands Conservancy. Isn't there somebody that comes to these meetings from the Wildlands Conservancy? So I got that wrong. And then I don't know her name. She obviously didn't get in touch with me. Anyway, we missed. So I'm hoping that somehow we get together again.
Okay.
Thank you.
Before she moves on, I just want to say that Jill Butler was up there also. And so to be together with Dee and Jill, I kind of felt like we were the forest elders there.
Yeah, we're gonna have lunch together soon.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, it was nice to kind of
Absolutely.
there.
That was very good.
And in the back row there, would you like to introduce yourself?
Donna Quartz and a landowner on the Prairie Ridge.
Okay, thank you, Don.
Prairie Ridge.
Okay.
Thank you. And then why don't we go next, Lynn, please?
Okay. So I'm Lynn Garrick. I'm with the Upper Marquest Watershed. I think a couple of things that we're working on. We last year updated our community wildfire protection plan project list. So it's a 3-year plan, and we've got some large projects in there about roadside fuel breaks. We've got some about larger fire breaks and workshops and things. So we're really working, getting some leaders to take each of those projects and move them forward. We had, I think on a larger scale, one of the things we're looking at is how we as a community can be involved in the general plan updates. We're concerned that the general plan updates have a significant impact on our protecting our watershed and our waterways and so all of those complicated things about zoning and watershed protection. So again, we're trying to get a group of people, a slightly different group of people than we have on some of our projects, to take a role in that. We met with Rebecca Ermacillo last week to let her know how would she like us to be involved, and then she's going to help put us together with the right people, as well as some other.
Who is this person?
She's our supervisor, Rebecca Ermacillo.
Okay. Oh, I didn't get the last name.
Rebecca. So a couple different avenues about that over the next couple. These are long-term projects. I think as a community, we are really happy that most people are done with burn pile season. And a shout out to Conservation Works and RCD, because personally, when I finished, or we finished the burn projects on our property, RCD was right out there to do the post-work inspection. I had to check before I knew what was happening. So it's a really good process, really happened effectively and efficiently. So we really appreciate that. I was just gonna take money out of savings, and then I got the note, the check is in the mail.
We're working on it, we're working on it, we're working.
It was great. It was a really smooth process.
Oh, you got paid.
And then, you know, we're our summer social this year, we used to do socials that were kind of educational and social twice a year. And what we figured out is that people just want to come and see each other and have a good time. So we've kind of, that's why smaller groups working with our supervisors, smaller groups working with our fire representatives. Social is a hoedown and line dancing and hoorah, horseshoes, and it'll be just a fun event for everybody up there.
Sounds fun.
Excellent.
Thank you, Vim. Let's go online. We got Tamara Costa, please.
Hi, greetings, everybody. It's nice to be here online and happy to be here for updates. This is my Gold Ridge board meeting day, so unfortunately I can't stay for the entirety of the meeting, but it's really nice to be here. I can provide a few updates from Regenerative Forest Solutions. As many of you know, we published our report last year, and we've been working away to implement the solutions, the opportunities that we've discovered through our research in Sonoma County that has identified a bottleneck of wood utilization as really preventing more sustainable wildfire treatments to occur to offset the costs. So we've been proceeding with those activities. Many of you are aware we've been working on the acquisition of Berry Sawmill, a project and effort we're calling Timber Shed out on the coast, as it's an available site with existing infrastructure and permitting in place. So we've been doing a lot of work on that end. Also looking statewide at California, like how can the North Coast really and Northern California in general better meet the needs of treating material for these wildfire treatments. So California is generating over 1 million tons of woody material per year just in these wildfire treatments alone. Overarchingly, it's tens of millions of tons of total residuals from ag and forest. And so we've been talking at a statewide level with the Governor's Office of Land Use and Climate Innovation on how to continue our activities. So we have several large grants that we're working on to help support other regions as well, because we're not the only county that's grappling with this challenge. And that's a large part of how I spend my time these days. So I'm really pleased to see that Judy's there. I've been talking a lot with Judy about her work on the coast and how we can collaborate more, and also did share with this group our article on wood utilities. I feel like infrastructure needed to do this work is generally lacking, and maybe we need a reframe on how we think about our wildfire treatments and how we're able to keep up with the annual vegetation growth cycles of our forests in our communities. That's it for me. Nice to see you all.
All right, thank you, Tamara, for joining us today. Let's go over to Brooke. We're gonna move along pretty well because we do have a couple of different presentations today. So, Brooke, do you want to give a quick update?
I'll make it quick. Brooke Edwards, Sonoma County Regional Parks. We're planning to do a prescribed burn at our Foothill Regional Park in early to mid-June. That's about 12 acres, and that's fairly adjacent to a lot of the houses that are over there, the residential community. So that will be good to get some of those fuels removed before the peak of fire season. And we've received the governor's CEQA suspension for fuel reduction projects at our Stillwater Cove Park. About 180 acres there is ready now to start implementing some fuel reduction work. And we're in the process of receiving the governor's suspension for our Monorail Redwoods property, as well as Mark West. So each one of those is several hundred acres that we're just really trying to line up so that this fall we can get going, multiple parks doing fuel reduction, pile burning, and with the ultimate goal of getting to do prescribed burns for long-term maintenance of the fuels there. And then also this month, May 29th, I am doing a walk and talk over at our Stillwater Cove with some of the surrounding community, talking about some of the shaded fuel break work that we've done over there. And so that's on Friday, I believe, not this Friday, but next Friday. That's it for me.
All right, thanks, Brooke. Let's stay online and go to Bianca Vargas.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bianca from Sonoma Land Trust. We, like Brooke Edwards, we are planning a prescribed burn for Laufenberg in Calistoga. It should be around like 5 acres, 5 to 10 acres. And that's so far what's going on for this month.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Genevieve from Sonoma RCD.
Thanks, Kim. I'll just touch on what Patty had already mentioned for batch 9 of NBFIP. I highly encourage folks who do intend to apply to reach out to me first. It's going to be a much more selective batch, and I would like to have like a screening process before we move forward. The other note I'll say is that we'll be putting out a request for proposal for the development of 2 project-specific analyses for the central and southern Mayacamas. And the last note is that we are looking into the wildfire prevention grant application and are hoping to partner with Fire Safe Sonoma, but TBD on that. Thanks.
Thank you, Genevieve. And I'm still getting used to this Ben Nichols from Fire Safe Sonoma.
That guy. Just real quick for the crowd, we were happy to support the Broomapalooza last weekend with the Listos tool trailer. I'm super excited that I think one quick measurement was a pile of broom, 24-foot long, 8-foot wide by 4-foot tall when it was all stacked and ready to go at the end. Working with Melissa, we're going to burn it in place rather than trying to haul it off or kill it underneath tarps. So super excited about the opportunities to dispose of that material on site. I wanted to remind the crowd that we're at the tail end of Wildfire Preparedness Month. So week 3 of 4, first 2 weeks were home hardening, defensible space, and this week is doing the right thing the wrong way and preventing those ignitions. So talking to residents about proper ways to mow and do all of the defensible space work around their homes that unfortunately frequently cause unwanted wildfires. And then just for sharing of information, Lynn, with so many of our other Firewise USA community leaders, are gathering here in the next coming weeks with their fire service reps and Fire Safe Sonoma and the RCDs to talk through their project concerns for their communities, getting identified projects into the system so that we're not missing these opportunities when these grant programs come out and or utilization of Measure H and other implementing opportunities out there. So those are coming around the horn. And then those that are not currently Firewise USA communities, just a reminder that working with your local your local wildfire safety rep, those projects, if they get into the portal downstream, one, it's more opportunities, but also this is the foundation for the upcoming CWPP update in 2028. So if anybody has questions on who their local wildfire safety rep is, feel free to reach out to me and I will steer you in the right direction. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Ben. Let's stay online and go to Joe Butler.
Good morning, Jill Butler representing Willow River Watershed Council, and it was a treat to see Dee and Judy last Friday for the workshop, and just look forward to figuring out how we can all work more closely together. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Jill. And I apologize for those who are online. You only get to see the back of our heads. We're trying to work on our dual camera setup. So hi to you. And so let's stay online and go to Courtney Gutman, please.
Hi, everybody. Courtney Gutman with Permit Sonoma and the FEMA grants over here at the County of Sonoma for wildfire mitigation. Quick updates. I think generally, we have some unfortunate news that we're not going to be able to move forward with a few of our FEMA grants because we have had no response from FEMA in almost a year or over a year for some of those grants. But one opportunity, we do have one grant, the BRIC grant, so Building Resilient Infrastructure in Communities, and that one is carrying through to September of this year, and we are still offering full structure hardening and defensible space assessments to community members in the Larkfield Wickiup area and the Guerneville Lower Russian River area. area. So we do have predetermined project geographies, so feel free to reach out to me if you're curious if your community is in those areas and eligible to have those assessments done. I'll put my email in the chat.
All right, thank you, Courtney, appreciate that. And let's go ahead and jump over to Robert Aguero.
Yeah, Robert Guerrero, Permit Sonoma. No other updates. Courtney covered it.
Okay, great. I'm going to jump in here just to highlight that two of the projects that the Veg Management Grant Program was able to support were ones that were presented by Permit Sonoma. So the Siri Tower, which is on outside of Gernwood, it's also along one of the shaded fuel breaks that we got funded through CAL FIRE. We were able to knock that out, and it's one of the fastest projects we've ever seen implemented, fully implemented. It was 18 acres around the Siri communication tower, and CAL FIRE really identified that as a high priority since there were sufficient amount of resources that needed to help protect Mount Jackson communication tower during the Wallbridge fire. So we want to try to stay up ahead of that game, and Permit Sonoma did the lion's share of the work, and we were able to fund it in this last cycle. Similarly, the PPI project out on the coast is another shaded fuel break. I'm forgetting the numbers. I think it's 3.2 miles of shaded fuel break that essentially connects Muniz Ranches to Fort Ross Road. So another critical access point for to be able to keep our communities safe. So I'll leave that at that. And then jumping over to the room again, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Brad Valentine, and I'm just a member of the Interested Public.
Great, glad you're able to join us today. Thank you. And then you?
Yeah, I'm Bill Basquin. I'm the coordinator of the Wildfire Resilience Program at the Junior College.
Oh, fantastic.
And one of the co-instructors.
Great, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. And then next in line?
My name is Claudia Zabinden. I live on Mark West Creek at Girl Acres, and very interested in all of this.
Fantastic. Glad you're able to join us. And Sir Christopher, would you like to
My name's Christopher. I'm with this committee. I'm a private landowner out in Occidental with Safer West County and Bohemia Collaborative as two group organizations.
All right.
In the interest of time, that's all.
You're the man. I appreciate that. We know who you are. We'll do a full introduction and we'll keep moving. Marshall Tuberville. And I might have another pleasure.
Yeah, my name's Kayla. I'm with the Sonoma County Department of Agriculture, and I'll be presenting in just a second, so I won't say too much more.
All right, thank you. Rose, you want to say a quick hello?
Hello, everyone. I don't have much to update, but I think if we have time at the end, we'll circle back to Jason's field trip, so we can just talk a little bit more.
Awesome. That sounds great.
Sarah Kaiser, Conservation Works. We oversee the North Bay Forest Improvement Program, and we're working with the RCD Sonoma and Gold Ridge and leading the charge on the Forest Health Grant proposal. And we're also chasing more money from the other CAL FIRE grants to keep NBFIP going. It is our goal to keep that thing accessible and alive and like an ongoing program long term.
Love it.
Hi, I'm Emma Guzzi. I'm also working on the North Bay Forest Improvement Program with Sarah at Conservation Works, among the Forest Health Grant and the RCPP Regional Conservation Partnership Program. So yeah, nice to learn from all of you guys. Oh yeah, and we have 4 California Climate Action Corps fellows doing a fellowship term at Conservation Works, and they host a variety of volunteer events. And so we have one upcoming next Wednesday. I have flyers, it's just small little flyers at the Cordham Trail at Shell Beach in Jenner, and they're doing an invasive plant removal. So they're removing the crete weed, I think that's how you say it, ice plant, and then the European beach grass, doing some polling led by state parks. So if anybody's interested in spreading the word, I'm going to send the digital flyer to Rose, and yeah, we'd love to have some volunteers there. So
great. Thanks, Emma. I appreciate that. Going online, I appreciate everybody being quick and efficient. Let's go to John Rosen. Online. All right, John, if you can join us. Otherwise, we'll move on to Ari DeMarco, please.
Maybe you need to ask him to unmute.
There we
There
go,
you go.
John, just unmuted.
This is Ari DeMarco. I'm unmuted. I have nothing to share though. I'm with Sonoma RC.
All right, appreciate that. John, do you want to touch in? You need to unmute.
Oh, I see.
All right, moving on to Adriana, our last online.
Hey, thanks, Kim. I will cede my time to the presenters, but good to see you all online.
Very good. Okay, thank you, Adriana. That's great. Wow, you guys cranked. I appreciate that. This is a great crowd. I'm sure it's partly Marshall's fault, but and also from our colleagues from the Sonoma County Department of Agriculture. So you are next on our agenda. So thank you. Thanks for getting through all these report outs so quickly.
Okay, let me just pull my slideshow. Share. Share it. Does that work? Okay, is that showing up here? Okay, great.
Terrible.
Yay. Yes, that was a preview of what the talk will be about. So my name is Kayla. I'm from the Sonoma County Department of Agriculture. I'm in charge of running the Sonoma Weed Management Area. A little background about me is I started my conservation journey working for state parks in Santa Cruz for 4 years. I was a forestry aide, so I did a lot of weed spraying and tree cutting. And then I started working for the county in Placer County, where I ran their weed management area, and we did a lot of invasive weed removal in the Tahoe area. And then my journey takes me to here, where I work for the Sonoma County Department of Agriculture. Our weed management area just split. It was combined with the Marin County weed management area, but in the interest of having more of like a smaller like group and more available to funding, for funding, we split so that Sonoma has its own, which is kind of cool. So yeah, and then I just included some pictures of some invasive baddies on here. We've got some oblong spurge, perennial pepperweed, and then the weed that we just all cannot get rid of, some broom.
So pretty.
So what are some of the goals of the Sonoma WMA, and what even really is a weed management area? So we work voluntarily with different agencies and landowners. We develop like IPM strategies to remove invasive weeds in our area. And really what one of the goals of the Sonoma WMA is to work with our kind of like our parent agency, the California Department of Food and Agriculture, to target rated weeds. So they rate weeds A, B, C, and Q. And based on the rating, it's how bad they are for agriculture and the environment. And so we try to prioritize talking about like the CDFAA rated weeds and different ones that are of local significance in Sonoma County. And really another big goal of the WMA is having interagency collaboration, which, as you guys all know, that's so important for conservation of any kind, is having a really good team to collaborate with and bounce ideas off of. And typically when one person is dealing with an invasive weed, there's likelihood that other people are dealing with the same weed. And so it's cool to have a group where you can kind of problem share and bounce ideas back and forth from. So I'll talk a little bit about tracking. So the main like sorts of tracking that people are using is CalFlora, but I think another common one that a lot of people in Sonoma County use is iNaturalist. So I thought this graphic was kind of cool because it talks about kind of how like different apps that people use can kind of all be uploaded onto CalFlora as well. So if you're using iNaturalist out in the field, if you get 3 approvals, or like 3 confirmations from other members of the public. So it could even be like coworkers. If you guys all know that it's like a French broom and you want to add a point somewhere, if you have 3 people like go and say, yeah, that is a French broom, it'll upload to CalFlora, which is the database that the state is using to monitor the movement of CDFA rated weeds. So I just wanted to shout that out. So on the left-hand side of the screen, oh, I'll go back, sorry. On the left-hand side, that's kind of what CalFlora looks like. And then on the right-hand side, that's what the iNaturalist database looks like. So I just wanted to show both of those. So what are some management tactics that the WMA focuses on? We talk a lot about like hand pulling and mechanical removal. We talk about herbicide application. So some weeds, the most effective way to remove them is just via herbicide. So backpack spraying, stump cut, hack and squirt. We talk a little bit about grazing, a little bit about prescribed fire. And then I just wanted to shout out this kind of cool user database that Calypsy has created. So I wonder if it's on my screen. See if that works. So Calypsy has this really cool database called WeedCut, and you can look up like specific weeds. So we'll just click on the vinca, and if you scroll down, it talks about like different results that people have. So like fair results you get from tarping or hand pulling. Ineffective results, it's got like a whole slew. Vinca's kind of gnarly. Maybe it wasn't a good one to start on. But it also shows you like if you do have the capability of using herbicide management, and that's within your program's means, it talks about like the different efficacies based on different active ingredients, which I think is kind of cool. Okay, let's go back to the other slideshow. All right. And I can share that link in the chat and send it to Rose so that she can distribute it. It's also on Calypsy's website, which is a great resource really for any invasive that you guys are having troubles with. You can, I think, just type in the common name into their search function and it'll pull up different web pages on there, which is pretty cool. These are all of our partners. We've got a whole slew of partners. You'll recognize some names. And if anyone is interested in joining the WMA, you don't have to be represented by an agency. You can also just be like a member of the public and join the WMA to come talk about weeds and get some, get some ideas flowing. So funding, CDFA is interested in funding different invasive weed management, different weed management area groups. So in the future, we will be prepared to kind of jump on funding resources from CDFA that's specific to the weed management area, which is why it's kind of cool if your agency decides to join the weed management area. If there's a specific invasive that you guys are concerned about, we could potentially fund that project later on. Like I said, our weed management area is kind of just starting out again from the split. So we are kind of like slow rolling on that, but just wanted to throw that out there. And it's also a good place to just share like, hey, we have funding for this, like through this specific grant. Is anyone interested in taking it? It doesn't just have to be like CDFA presenting money. It could be all of us sharing about different funding opportunities as well. And then that's it. Yeah, just a very brief overview about the weed management area and kind of a shout out to us. So if anyone's interested, please feel free to reach out to me. My contact info is up there and I can also drop it in the chat.
That's great. Could you send us your presentation so that we can load it in?
Yeah, for sure. I think I sent it to you in a PDF, but the first slide is just, it doesn't have any transitions, so it's just a big photo of the broom. So we will just have this with that one.
Sounds good. All right. Do you need you need a cord?
And I think we have a question.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Jason.
Oh, no, Jason's not allowed to question.
Gotta cut me off, Kim.
Part
No,
of
no,
our
this
WA too.
You can
yes,
stop
Kayla.
sharing. Kayla.
Thanks so much for joining the Forest Working Group and expressing, on behalf of the WMA. It's just, I just want to say it's a great group to be a part of. So please don't hesitate to get engaged with our local WMA. And then I did want to see, Kayla, if you'd be willing to share with the group that new grant opportunity that came up. I think you have the information on that one, right? That sizable grant for invasive plant control through USDA.
Yes, I can. Let me pull it up. So CalIPC periodically will email out different grants that are available for invasive plant management. Just see if I can pull it up. It is a grant through loading. I'm so sorry, it's slow.
And you can always send it to us via.
Yeah,
okay,
this is a big one, guys, and it's rare that something like this comes up. We get a lot of funding support for fuel reduction projects and not as much for invasive plant control. So it's a big opportunity, and I hope we can take advantage of it.
Yeah, so it's through the climate bond, and kind of the purpose of the grant is to award different people who are working on invasive species management in 40% of the funding has to be direct and meaningful for disadvantaged communities and the climate.
Share your screen.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, let's see. Sorry, there's so many windows. Okay, share. Okay, so I'll just scroll. Okay, let's see. Okay, so this is kind of a description of what the grant is all about, but you'll see here that the grant reward can range anywhere from $250,000 to $1 million over a 48-month period for invasive species removal work. It says 40% of the funding made available shall be invested into programs or projects that provide direct and meaningful benefits to disadvantaged communities or severely disadvantaged communities and vulnerable populations. So the climate board, who is one of the ones responsible for putting this grant on, they actually have a map that shows where some of those communities are. And there are different communities in Sonoma County, I think in West County and Santa Rosa, that would qualify under this grant. And so right now the grant release is to be announced. And we're just in the process of the public comment period. So I can send the email that Doug Johnson, who's kind of the old leader of CalIPC, he just retired, but we still get emails from him. I can forward that to Rose to share in maybe the meeting notes. And then if you guys have any if you guys want to do the public comment period and say yes, we're very interested in this, I think that that's really good to do. But it is a really great opportunity and it is a lot of money for weed work. So it would be good. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for reminding me of that, Jason, too.
Thank you. Yeah, West County broom. I mean, geez. All right. Thanks again.
Yeah.
All right. Great. So I think we're ready for Marshall to be able to provide us with a seasonal outlook on what the fire season is looking like. Marshall Tuberville.
How much time?
We like to close shop about 5 o'clock.
Will be a quiz too.
Yeah, exactly.
You're the first group of three. Well, Marshall Tuberville and Battalion Chief for CAL FIRE. Sonoma County mainly assigned to the coastal area. When I work, I pretty much work everything north of Windsor. Between now and next Thursday, I'm doing 3 of these, so you'll be the first one. So kind of like the guinea pig. Yes. I don't know if you want to go full screen, Rose. But asked to talk about the fire potential for this year. That's actually a photo from the fire last Saturday off Toombs Creek Road. So I'll talk about spring fires and green grass and things, but even though it almost burned 10 acres, not that big of a deal, and less than 1,000 gallons of water, less than 8 firefighters were there. I think there's actually 6 firefighters there. We didn't really cut any hand line or do any soil disturbance, and that's because it's green grass, and then this area is highly erodible. So those red fingers, they call them, the local call them, pretty much contain that fire. And this was a burn pile from a couple weeks prior, windy night.
A bird pile.
Yeah, so a commercial burn pile, total tree removal, piled up, burned it. April 16th, actually saw them burning it. And then my theory is the buried material, roots, stuff smoldering, wind kicked it up, and never fully extinguished. And that's the problem with drought periods during the winter. So we can keep going. A lot of graphs, a lot of little things to show you because it'll happen.
Yeah.
It's kind of slow to load.
Well,
Froze it.
That's it.
Thank you, Marshall. Really appreciate it.
I could try to stop.
Oh,
Stable. Stop and start.
Oh, there we go.
All right.
Some of you guys have seen this type of graph before, where there's area, distance, area on the y-axis and time on the x-axis. And the reason I like to think about it this way is, 3 things got to come together: oxygen, heat, and fuel to have a fire, and that's what's called an ignition. So we're not having a lot of ignitions now because, well, most fires are caused by people, and people aren't doing burn piles. People are mowing at the right time, thanks to the fire prevention message for the month. So that's your fire triangle. What we need for ignition, how the fire burns is weather, topography, and fuels. And everyone here seems to be working on the fuels problem. So that'll help. But what's the weather going to be? And that's where it gets really scary when you think about where we're going over those decades in climate. So that's why I'm going to talk about diurnal, daily things, seasonal things, and then climatology or climate things. And then that's what that third triangle talks about, is how those things all come together. Maybe an example would be giant sequoias right now. They seem to be getting high severity, high intensity fires. They're not surviving. The sequoias even before then were only, very small range restricted. Well, is this now the final, they're going to get pushed out, go extinct? Is this something natural, human caused? I mean, that's what, is happening at the climate scale. So we can keep going on to the next. And this is kind of what wraps it all together. And this is why it's tricky. And this is why, there's no crystal ball we can look into and say, hey, this summer, this afternoon, how's fire going to burn? These are all the little things that happen behind the scenes. So first off, warm air could hold more water than cold air. So that's why there's fog in the morning, or it's cool and moist and dew, and then it's warm and dry. That's what's scary about the whole Earth heating up, is now in theory, there's more carrying capacity. The Earth's atmosphere can hold more water. Well, where's that water going to come from? The soil, the vegetation. I'm supposed to only talk about fire stuff, so I won't get into science stuff, but where's that all going to happen? So it's going to dry the vegetation out. Okay? And that changes hour to hour, changes over seasons, and changes over the years. We call our vegetation live or dead. So our annual grasses are tricky because they're live and then they're curing, they're dead. So they transition. A log laying out there on the forest floor is the dead fuel. And then the species we talk a lot about here is chaparral because of its chemical content. That's a live fuel. So that all varies whether the fuel or the vegetation is a heat sink, absorbs the heat, or is it a heat source where it's solid material converts to a gas and oxygen. We get the fire triangle and it burns. Air and vegetation are trying to reach equilibrium, moisture equilibrium. So water in the vegetation, fuels, water in the air, they're always trying to equal out. So foggy day, rainy day, great. Water's going into the vegetation. A dry afternoon, it's the opposite. So that's what's tricky. Heat wave for 2 weeks, the vegetation dries out. So yeah, we have great fire potential, but I don't know if there's going to be heat waves this summer. I think there will, but I can't tell you for sure. And then that gets to the point that vegetation is a heat sink or a heat source. So you guys are doing a burn pile surrounded by green grass. You can get pretty sloppy, and it's not going to escape because that green grass has a lot of water, and you might hear it start, crackling and being very crispy, just like Saturday's fire was, because it's a heat sink. It's absorbing the heat. It's not producing that vapors. Then our southwest aspects are our driest and hottest. So usually, if you guys know about moss on what side of trees and things like that, it's the same principle. So that's normally where we have our greatest fire potential. A little thing not too well known is a north wind. It's a north aspect. And our north aspects have our trees and more vegetation. So that's what's tricky when we get a north wind. Wildfire spread is based on heat transfer. So everyone out here doing vegetation management work is trying to break up effective heat transfer by removing ladder fuels, so the heat coming off a surface fire doesn't get up into the aerial or the crown fuels. So that's what that's all about. So if we can break up that heat transfer, then we lessen the risk. That's most important around houses, defensible space. Wildfire travels the opposite path as water. So where water goes downhill, fire wants to go uphill. And that's a good thing if you ever want to get out of the way of a fire, or maybe your house is in a bad spot. Think about what water would do. And then wind is the most dominant driver, so our wind events. And then alignment of the three elements of weather, topography, and fuels create our fastest moving wildfires. And those are the ones we suck at putting out. We're not very good at putting them out, and they get names, and you guys all know about them. All right, so we can keep going. So I want to talk about this because that's out there now that we have a fire year, not a fire season. But we still have 4 seasons. So this is the uniqueness about each one of these seasons. In the winter, think about it. We have shorter days, so we don't have as much sun. We have moist vegetation, whether it be live or dead. It rained, the ground's wet, the big log out there is getting water from the ground, or there's green grass. But we can have periods without rain and that winter drought. And I'll show you some examples of that we had in April of this year, where we had fires late March. Okay. We're in spring right now, so our days are getting longer. The vegetation is drying out. And I'm going to get to this in a little bit, but our grass is running a little bit behind schedule as far as curing, which is good. And we're less likely to have rain. In the summer, we have our longest day, so the most amount of sun. It's very hot and dry, and our vegetation is cured. The only exception may be our brush species, because it gains its moisture in flowers. Think of like how a vineyard operates. And then fall, to me, it comes down to one question. Is it going to rain first, or is it going to be windy first? And last year was another example. We had rain first. Okay? In some places, once it rains once in the bottom of a deep canyon, a north aspect, unless we get a lot of drying, we're kind of out of fire season on that little microclimate on that slope. But we can have wind events with cured vegetation. Okay? So bottom line is our summer fire season is longer. It's starting earlier, potentially going later. And we can have similar fire behavior conditions year round. Okay. Keep going. I'm just probably going to go through this stuff fast, but here's just a little recap on last year, right? Summer fire season, really hot. We set records. I almost guarantee you we'll set another record somewhere this summer the way it's going. Okay. It's going to be hot. Good thing about hot days, people don't go outside and start fires normally. It's too darn hot. Okay. Keep going. That was last August. We did have lightning activity, not here, but we know from 2020 experiences here, primarily the Walbridge and the Myers. There was many others. You don't know about them because we put them out, but a lot of lightning. But last year wasn't a big lightning problem year. Okay. So yeah, you can get a bunch of ignitions, but if the vegetation's not cured, dry, tons of snow, you don't have a bad fire. So that's what's hard about this fire potential problem. So not here, but think about the Sierras. They don't have the snow they would normally have. Upper elevations potentially could have fires earlier in the year, and also more destructive fires or more ecologically destructive fires. They may not burn homes or kill people, but they're still ecologically destructive because there's now, more stuff's burning, more heat. Okay. So we can keep going. This is just a recap of 2025. We did get this little bit of rain, so that got rain before wind. Okay. Keep going. And then we know this is the fall potential. Okay, so that's what happens in the fall fire season. And you can see this Tubbs fire. Everyone's familiar with that. It was only eclipsed by the Camp Fire the next November of 2018. Okay, so these are the destructive fires. The largest fires, yeah, a little different criteria, but we can keep going. Because I like to look at the statistics, and I review this every year with you guys. Okay, so CAL FIRE has top 20 fires, top 20 largest, top 20 most destructive, top 20 deadliest. I think there should be a top 20 most ecologically damaging, but that's not there yet. Here's the causes related to those top 20 fires. So lightning, 7.5 of the largest, 8 of the most destructive are power lines or electrical. So shutting off power lines, people being safe, right? Power lines are where people are at, where homes are at. And then 5 of the deadliest were human related, which makes sense. Humans cause fires. So human related is going to be our deadliest fire. Right? May not be intentional. That's arson. That's just someone that maybe got a flat tire and ran off the road, drag a chain, generator during a power shutoff caused a fire. Okay, those types of things. And then if you look at the list here, the top on the list, nothing here locally in Sonoma County, but that's the top largest was the August complex that burned over 1 million acres in 2020, which was a conglomerate of a bunch of lightning caused fires. And then the most destructive, the most deadliest is that 2018 campfire in Paradise. In this unit of Sonoma Lake Napa, we have quite a bit on the list. And I just want to point out that even though we're in a coastal county, so is San Diego, so is LA. Matter of fact, there's an island burning right now in Southern California. It doesn't matter that we have the ocean there. People think, oh, fog, you're safe. No, okay. It just means, yeah, maybe less days of the year, but that exposure, that risk is still there. And then this is the top 20 fires by what month of the year they occur in. So remember, I've been talking about the winter fire season, spring, summer, and fall. Well, up until January of 2025, nothing was on the list, but this is your Palisades and Eaton fire in Southern California. So now we have 2 of the top 20 in January. All right. But look at nothing in February, nothing March, nothing in April, nothing in May. This time of year, grass generally green. The live fuel moisture chaparral, normally it's taking its water on board, it's flowering, it's getting new growth. So it's pretty hard to have a major top 20 fire this time of year. Okay. So then this is your summer fire season, June, July, August, September, the persistent heat. And then we get into a fall fire season, which is a function of, is it going to rain first or is it going to be windy first? Okay. So I just review that every year. 2025, we gained the January. Prior to that, there was no January in the top 20. Keep going. So just a little bit on what's leading up to 2026. So this is temperature, precipitation. You see quite a bit of these, but all in all, in my opinion, we had a pretty, all in all, a normal winter. Right? I know we wasn't equally distributed as far as rainfall, and we had some dry periods, but nothing was really crazy. Yeah, we are getting warmer and drier, which just shows, but nothing crazy. Okay, nothing like 2013, 2014, we had like no rain. And there were red flags in January here. We keep going. So we'll go through this quickly. These are just slides. So this is from Daniel Swain. I go to his website quite a bit, weatherwest.com. So warmest on record, Western US is us, including SoCal and Sierra Nevada. And remember, right after this too, we got those late March, early April rains. Okay, so, but this is that, and we always, in my opinion, get the 6 to 8 week dry period in the winter. But this is, he put this blog post out right during that. And then we got some rain, so you can advance it. It's a good site to go to. And then here's middle of April, the fire in Fountain Grove. This is somebody weed eating in April. All right, we tell people, yeah, don't weed eat on a hot red flag day. Well, middle of April. So a fire happens. Is it destructive? No. No one dies. No one homes get lost. Is it an indicator? Yeah. But here's really what happened. It's a west aspect, hot, dry day, late in the day. So now you got sun, right? Sun east to west, sun's hitting the west aspect. It's the hottest part of the day. Weed eating. There's dry grass in the green grass. Fire happens. The green grass produces a bunch of smoke because it's a heat sink. That smoke is a lot of water vapor, steam. And, everyone kind of freaks out a little bit. Could it have been prevented? Absolutely. Is it going to continue to happen? Yeah. So this is the thing about why we say year-round fire season. But not every fire is bad. And I'll get to your question in a minute. Does this happen a lot? I think so. But the people put it out don't call 911. We only get called when they not have water and extinguisher, not paying attention. And this is going to happen the next couple of weeks. Our leading cause of fire right now is burn pile escapes and people doing the right thing at the wrong time.
So Marshall, do you know more specifically how that weed whacking caused that fire? Was he putting his machine down on hot grass? What?
That's what I think it was. I think a rock strike or anything like that, especially with a string. Yeah. So yeah, and I can find out the exact cause.
I guess under that question is like, what should we be careful about?
The biggest, this is probably because there's three main reasons. You can strike something hard, kind of hard to do with a string.
Yeah.
You can fuel or set it down, or you get the buildup of vegetation and shape and the friction, and that'll cause fire.
Thank you.
So Marshall, you said, could it be prevented? Yes. How could it have been prevented? Do you mean that they should put wrong time of day, wrong?
So the simple answer is, when you touch the grass, is it wet to the touch or is it moist, meaning green? That's how it could have been prevented. And still you could start a fire, but you're paying attention, right?
Early day, late day, better?
Early in the day is best, but I don't want to say a time like 10 a.m. because we have dry mornings, and where you're at, it's dry above the fog. So I don't like this mow before 10 thing. I think every day is different. And the biggest issue I see about this is, if you call someone up to weed eat, they're going to want to come out for a full day. They're not going to want to weed eat for 2 hours, and then, right, costs and everything go up. So we see a lot of folks, 2 or 3 in the afternoon, they're into the day, things are happening.
So just real quick, we have a big push right now. Everybody's out there weed eating.
Yep.
And if we were going to send out an announcement, like 1 line, 2 lines, what would you suggest?
Grass is moist to the touch. There's dew. Be the best advice I can give you.
Okay.
Right. If it's green grass, that's good too. That's why I say it's green, moist to the touch.
Mhm.
It's a simple thing. All right, we'll keep going on the potential here. So I want to talk about daily, season, and climate. So here's daily. I think this group knows about how the sun rises and sets. The fire group next week, I'm gonna have to explain it more, but this is what happens. The sun comes up and things dry out. The air heats up. Air's dry now because it can hold more water. Water gets sucked out of the ground. Water gets sucked out of the vegetation, whether it's live or dead. And that's the afternoon, usually afternoon, evening burn window, okay? And then once the sun sets, everything goes in the opposite direction. So bottom line is, hotter and drier daytime conditions, different seasons have different daytime durations. So this is why the summer fire season is different than the winter, and climate may be changing nighttime conditions. So now we have dryness through the night, okay? So if we want to advance it, I got a couple slides here using the Hawkeye raws. So this is the sun, solar radiation. I just did this morning, May 13th to May 21st. That blue line is the sun coming up, about 1,000 solar radiation every day. I mean, it's like your heartbeat, I hope. It's regular and consistent, right? The sun comes up, hits this area. This would be a different value in the winter. Now, how does that affect the vegetation? And then we got topography. Remember, weather fuels topography. That's where it gets tricky. But this is what the sun does. So if we go to the next slide, you'll see the air temperature and the relative humidity from noon every day. And I know there's a lot of stuff going on, blues temperature, and we have a general increase in air temperature right now. I think today's the hottest day of this little drying trend. So that's that blue line going up. But over the course of the day, it gets warm, it gets cool. So afternoon, middle of the night. Coldest hour in theory is 1 hour after sunrise. And then the green line is our RH, how much water's in the air. Fog is 100% RH. Don't worry about dew point, but that's our normal daily cycle. So temperature's been going up. RH, look at, is it different from these first 3 days, the last 4 days? So we kind of know that, hey, the trend right now, if you're paying attention to this stuff, is not looking good, okay? So we're timing prescribed burns, doing other activities. This is behind the scenes. So this is that wildfire potential. You may not get a red flag that everyone pays attention to, but if there's a fire that it's hard for firefighters to put out, this is normally the reason. There's either too many fires going on, not enough firefighters, or the conditions are making it very hard. And I let you know, it is setting up to make it hard. We could have a lot of fires because ignitions are going to happen. The fuel vegetation is susceptible, and we're going to have conditions that we're not that effective with. Yeah, keep going.
Are you do you use this, and how do you use this kind of information to when you guys finally call the season? When you call it, that all open burns are done?
There is some science behind it, and I'll get into some of the other indices here in a little bit. Spread component, burning ignition. Yeah, but we use this.
Yeah.
Remember the burn season, there's residential burn permits, you got at least 62A or 4 feet by 4 feet burn permits. I'm talking CAL FIRE, not Northern Sonoma County area. That is what gets suspended. You're doing an LE5 burn, a big burn pile, or a broadcast burn, an LE7 or LE8, those are not suspended. Those might only be written for duration and need, like a week or two, but those are not suspended normally. So people can still do big pile burns. People tend not to do it because you could have an escape, cost more money, because you got to staff it for a long time, but you can still do broadcast burn. And then this is your fuel moisture, dead fuel moisture, showing that it, right, middle of the afternoon, it's dry. Okay, those twigs that maybe had fog during the night, absorbed water, now dry out. Okay, so that's the daily cycle. Old timers used to say, fire owns the day, firefighters own the night. We firefighters can make a lot of progress at night. Okay, keep going. I'm going to get through this quickly. So this is some of the indices we use for fire season and such, and I'm going to show you some graphs with this. So this is what's called the ignition component. Very simply is, what's the probability, what's the percentage from 0 to 100 that a fire is going to start? And so ignition component, I'll show you what we had yesterday. So the IC or ignition component. So the lower the IC is when vegetation is moist. And theoretically, if you have an IC of 0, you can't have a fire. So if I'm doing a prescribed burn and I don't want spot fires, I look at what the IC is. But I'll also say that I'll burn with a 60%, but I'll have forces there to contain this. Okay, so that's your ignition component. Keep going, go through quick. We'll have 3 others here. Oh, I wanted to cover really quickly what the causes are if you're curious, because if we have no cause, no fires start, then we have like, hey, no bad fire season, no bad fire year. So this is a recap that what's the greatest percentage of how fires start? Is it other? Which means we never could conclusively determine, but it's equipment. Yeah, we have arson, and someone just got arrested in Cloverdale a couple days ago for arson. Here's your burn piles. So equipment, debris burning, those are our most common causes, okay? Vehicle power lines, even those are the ones that tend to happen during windy conditions, those aren't a lot of our causes, okay? Notice natural causes, lightning is pretty much our only natural cause around here because we don't have volcanoes or rock slides that are rocks hitting and sparking. That's your lightning. Okay, so that, right, the statistic generally is 95% or greater fires are human caused. This is how. Okay, so that ignition component. Then we have the spread component. So it's how fast a fire is going to burn. Remember wind, and it's about heat transfer. So fire goes the opposite of water, normally uphill, and wind. So the higher the spread component, this is a feet per minute, it's when there's wind, and the lower that spread component is, the more effective we're going to be able to put that fire out, because we're cutting hand line, we're laying fire hose, spraying water. If it's not moving very fast, we're going to be able to put it out. Okay, so spread component. Keep going, got 2 more to get through. Then we have our burning index. This is starting to get how the fire is going to burn. BI divided by 10 gives us our flame lengths, how tall the fire is. So the higher the burning BI is when vegetation is dry. And the lower the BI increases our effectiveness because it's not big flames. So I'm going to get to these stats here in a minute. So keep going. Last one's the ERC. And this is another number that's a composite, open-ended, so it doesn't cap out at 100. And the good thing about this, and this is what I'm going to show you, is it doesn't really care about wind. It cares about how dry is the vegetation. Not good to use it for drought, but how dry, how much heat, how much energy. You guys want to have a campfire. You guys want to have a fireplace to keep yourself warm. You want to throw a log you just cut that's really heavy and really moist into your fireplace, or do you want to get something that's cured? Okay, this is, you want to produce more heat, you want to produce more energy. This is what this represents.
So if my big burn pile and there's no wind, but it's really dry, can be just as lethal or more so in getting away than if it was a windy day and I had a more moist.
Yeah, well, Moist helps out a lot. Moist air absorbs heat. Moist air keeps the surrounding vegetation. It takes away the heat transfer.
So the wind and the dryness are pretty equal of bad things.
Yes, they're if we're like a puppeteer,
Yes.
they're different knobs on the fire behavior.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So let's go to the graphs then for a little bit, because this tells you the potential. So the first thing I'm going to show you is this is what CAL FIRE does on a daily basis to determine how many firefighters we're going to send, when we're going to lift the burn permit suspension. So every couple hours, there's what's called the dispatch level. And so it says low, medium, or high dispatch, how many fire engines we're going to send, 2 if it's a low, 4 if it's a medium, 6 if it's a high. This is CAL FIRE only, not all the other fire departments, cities, and fire districts. Okay, so that's what we use it for. But what it produces is those indices, the ignition component, the spread component, the BI, and the ERC. So Sonoma County, this is new, Ben, since you retired. We have a coastal zone, which uses Santa Rosa Raws up by Keysite. And we have Hawkeye Raws, which represents the Mayacamas, okay? Don't worry about the rest of the Sonoma Napa unit, but this is Sonoma County. So we have the coastal zone and Mayacamas. And so yesterday, May 20th at 10 o'clock at night, the coast was in a high dispatch. Yeah, I'm not super worried like things are going to get out of control. We need to evacuate everybody, but it's showing that the potential is there. And that's because statistically, fires over the last, I don't know how many years, 20 or 30 years are graphed, and then there's a cutoff point. 99% of fires happen under this condition. The 1% of fires happen under these conditions. So this all gets graphed out, and that's what derives where these cutoffs are. So the cutoffs are down here. I don't want to get super scientific on you, but we had a high dispatch. We're going to send the maximum amount of firefighting resources to this whole west side of Sonoma County, okay, based on that hourly condition. Today it's different, in the morning it's different, but that's how we decide who to send. So that shows you the potential, okay, for Get Team Energy. So each one of these has a different fuel model associated with it. So this is timber, this is brush, okay? And you can see the IC was 35 out of 100, spread component is 3 feet per minute. We're pretty effective at putting that fire out. The burning index is 29, so that's 30 divided by 10 is 3 3-foot flames. And our ERC is 42. When you look at Kincaid tubs, we were like at 270, 300 on ERC. Okay, so this is what happens. We send tons of firefighters, put a fire out. Everyone thinks it's great, which it is, but people don't realize the potential. Now, apps like Watch Duty, everyone's like, man, you guys are really good. Well, we've kind of always been pretty good. Watch Duty wasn't there to let you know how many times we're good. Okay, there's always this potential.
I was just wondering, so this is for CAL FIRE use, but not for the landowners or the residents in the.
Well, there is other indices that's available to landowners, like industry, PG&E, timber companies have different indices they use.
And how would a resident in like the coastal zone be aware of?
Yeah, you'd have to get it forwarded too, because it comes out every 2 hours.
Oh, you'd have to, okay, so it'd be up to us to monitor it.
Yeah, so this would be really confusing if we wanted to do like a Smokey the Bear arm of what Dean, right? We'd have to change it every couple hours. That's why we really don't like this being used publicly.
Okay, that's what I was
because it's very fluid. It's an hourly hour to every 1 to 2 hours change.
And so the level on the coastal zone, what was that due to?
Well, here's what it's due to is, and I'm going to get to this in a minute, is our big dead fuels, our logs, right? They haven't had, we talk about rainfall, there's duration and amount. Yeah, we got somewhat near amount, but the duration. So they didn't get exposure to gain water. So they're dry. And so that's a lot of heat now. So that's what's being reflected. I'm going to show you more graphs about that.
So the wind really doesn't play that.
The wind plays into spread component only. And you can see that wind wasn't really in play because look at all the spread components. They're very low.
Right. Okay.
And in a forest, we say the forest blocks a lot of the wind too. So, right, wind is measured 20 feet above the tops of the trees for this model. Okay, we can keep going. So that just shows you the potential daily, seasonally. And this is what's leading to the high dispatch on the coast right now. So seasonally, okay, the firefighters might explain more about the earth's tilted and the sun stuff, but you guys get that, right? So we are now tilting towards the sun. Our days are getting longer, etc. So that means that we get more sun. things are gonna dry out. There's more of the peak part of the day that's hot and dry. And that extends more into the night, which is shorter now. Okay, so this now is our summer fire season. Okay, so this is what's going on. Daytime and nighttime weather conditions and our vegetation changes now from that heat sink, absorbing the heat, to now being a heat source. Okay, so that's what's happening right now. On the coast, in the heavier fuels, the big logs, they never really gained a normal winter's worth of water of moisture. Okay, I can talk about other land management stuff going on, but we are getting more and more of our fuel or vegetation, right? It didn't burn last year, so now it's out there again this year. It's now available to burn. Okay, so that's seasonal. And
So Marshall, is that last sentence correct then?
changes from a heat source to a heat sink. It's backwards, changing from a heat sink to a heat source. I'll fix it for the firefighters.
They wouldn't have caught that.
I wouldn't have caught it. All right,
We're going forward.
go for it. Yeah. So this is another way to look at it. This I showed you guys last year too. Daily, okay, afternoon grasses cure, evening grasses gain moisture, larger dead fuels, those big logs gain. Okay, night and morning, grass is pretty moist, so that's why, you know, we can do prescribed burns and use the grass as our boundaries. And then seasonally, winter is different than the spring and late summer, which I already talked about. So that is that heat source, heat sink. Right now, our brush has flowers, has new growth. It is still, yes, can burn, but it's more of a heat sink than a heat source. Okay, so keep going. So this is the brush. Maybe this might be a little confusing for everyone to see here, but below 60, well, this is across the calendar year, so March to March. This is 60% lower live fuel moisture. It's what we call critical. That's where brush for sure is a heat source, not a heat sink. We call the green line 100% is where it becomes more flammable. The solid blue is our current year. This is our historical trend, the dashed blue. Then the dotted blue with red dots is our minimum ever recorded. So on our solid blue, we are lower, but I'll say we're lagging behind, meaning that I think the flower, the new growth period happened a little bit later this year in our brush. And I say that for a couple reasons. First off, we're not having brush fires right now. When I tried to burn brush, it didn't burn very well. And so the brush has not converted over to being a heat source. Southern California right now, different story. Their brush is different. Okay, so we keep going. Let's go through these quickly. If you just hit the button, it'll animate. But this is for temperature, showing that there's nothing crazy being predicted, you know, above, but you know, it's not the dark red. But this goes through our whole year this year as far as what our temperature is going to look like. So a little warmer than normal, but that's been the trend for a while now with the climate stuff. Okay, so that takes you all the way through next year. So nothing crazy about the heat. Yeah, warmer than normal, that continued trend. There's about precipitation. We're right here, and I know there's talk about El Nino, La Nina, but this is the Climate Prediction Center that puts this out. But if you click it once, Rose, it'll just keep going through. You'll notice that we never really get above or below. We have equal chances of rain. So that, I guess if there's a normal, that's a normal. Okay, but
Is there a season for the Diablo winds?
yeah, it's the fall.
Are you gonna talk about that?
Yeah, I'll talk about it a little bit. It's the fall.
Okay.
So keep going all the way through to the next slide. That's what is being predicted for potential drought issues. Okay, so we are going to be in a drought development likely scenario. A little bit of a drought persist scenario up here, but that's what they're predicting. So, all right, warmer than normal, equal chances of rain. That's the end result. So this potentially could be setting up for a potentially bad fall fire season if we get the wind, the Diablo winds before the rain. So a little bit on the winds. Last week it was pretty darn windy, right? Matter of fact, one of the power lines I went to was the same power line that fell in 2017 on October 8th. I mean, it's these like earthquake faults. It's just common areas.
TMI, dude. TMI.
Am I gonna get more money for the vegetation grant program?
Yeah, I don't know. So we had crazy winds last Sunday. Okay, but the grass was not green and it didn't last long enough to make it red flag criteria. Sacramento Valley had red flag criteria. We didn't have it here. So these winds happen, but they got to have dry vegetation. So last weekend was probably a borderline red flag event strictly from a wind point of view, but it didn't meet the vegetation point of view. Matter of fact, if you guys paid attention to January of this year, Southern California had the same winds as last January when Palisades Heat happened, but it wasn't a red flag this year because Southern California had got rain. Okay, so that's what's tricky. These winds are always going down. It's the vegetation. So that's what's scary. The campfire. I don't know Paradise well, but I was told it should have had snow by November of that year, and it didn't have snow. And now you got the crazy winds. Okay, Colorado, the Marshall Fire after Christmas. These other states are getting the same problem. They're getting the wind events that always happened, but now the vegetation is also dry. Okay, so that's kind of the Diablo north wind event. So keep going. I want to get into the climate real quick. Yeah, a little bit more on drought. We can keep going. Here's the thing about climate. So this is more than just the season. This is several years. And this is the thing about average temperature, RH, rainfall, wind, solar radiation, or frequency extreme weather. We are getting more episodes of extreme weather. That's what's getting tricky. So general trend, things are getting warmer. Remember, hot air can hold more water than cold air. Vegetation is drier. So this is what, when you look back at what led up to 2017, that started like in 2013, 2014. Okay, so that's what's happening is the vegetation's being altered. Douglas fir trees are dying, more broom, but things are changing. Okay, so try to wrap it up here in a couple minutes. Keep going. This is how firefighters think about it, how they talk about the fuel problem. This is from the California State Fire Physician. Take a 5-gallon can of gasoline and place it in your garage this year. Do it again next year. Every year your garage doesn't burn, add another 5 gallons of gasoline. After 5 to 10 years, you'll have 20 to 50 gallons of gasoline in the garage. Although you've escaped those fires or those years without experiencing a fire, when one comes, it will be much worse than it was before you started to store the gasoline. It will burn with tremendous heat, spread at rapid rate, and move quickly out of control, threatening any exposures nearby. All right, so it's kind of a weird thing. The more we put fires out, right, can't keep up on veg management, the more we're kind of making the problem worse. Okay, so that's how firefighters look at it.
Just to be clear, we're not advocating for putting gasoline.
If you did, I mean, that's like a bank account.
Yeah, yeah, right now it's worth the money, right?
All right, this is all the climate stuff. For sake of time, I'm going to speed through it. You guys know it's gradually getting warmer and drier. Yeah. So this is the end of it, and then I'll go into the summary slides. This is the same graph I show every year. This is your ERC graph, energy release component. For Northern California, what's called PSA2. It's basically Sonoma County North. Okay. We go from January 1st to December 31st. This graph is different than the one I showed in 2025 because now we're only looking at about roughly the last 23 years from 2005. So we're getting what I call the modern era now of wildfires. We're not like diluting down the warmer, drier, I don't want to go extreme, but most of the bad fires have happened in the last 20 years. So we're not now averaging that out over when we didn't have fires. Okay? Like we're not diluting it. So this gray line is the average over all those years. The gray is average. The red is the maximum ever recorded for that day, which may not all be in the same year. So that's what's called maximum or extreme, like the highest ever recorded. The blue line is 2026. So we started out with rain, even snow in Sonoma County back around January 1st. Then it dried out, so we see it come up. Then we got a rain event. We go into early March. And then this is about 6 weeks of drying. We start getting burn pile escapes. We get the weed eater, fountain growth. And look we went into extreme. So next year's graph, this will be the red line.
Wow.
Okay. Early part of April, we got rain and started dropping us down. But notice it didn't bottom out. because you cannot overcome all those logs drying out in just one rain event. And the general trend is more sun, longer days. So like the train already left the station. You cannot like water a dead piece of grass and bring it back to life. Okay. Right. Be crazy. Okay.
Exactly.
So we had a little bit of unsettled weather here, April, May, and thankfully we did, because we were going to set a new record year round. So this is that last couple weeks, second growth of grass now. Everything's slowed down a little bit. Great. But look at where we're going. We're going to hit it. We're going to go back into record-setting extreme values. Okay. So what's going to happen the rest of the year is we're going to probably definitely stay above average. Maybe we dip down if we get rain event, which is pretty rare, fog, something. We're going to stay above average for sure. And we're probably going to be flirting with record-setting conditions. Okay. So fire happens under windy conditions. Kincaid fire, biggest fire in the state, only fire at that time in 2019. We still didn't stop it. We get a lot of fires at once. 2020 lightning, 2017 one windy night. We're outnumbered. So that is the potential. Can a fire start along a road and race up a hill in Sonoma County in one afternoon and threaten 20 homes before we can get there, even though we're going to send everybody? Absolutely. In southern Sonoma County, can the fog wind come in and push a fire? Absolutely, but quicker than we can mobilize. So that's what's scary about the microclimates. But this is the general trend, okay? What's happening. So let's go to a couple more. Let's look at why this is happening. Well, this is something I put out in the middle of March before we had that rain event. Remember? So this is that same graph, but I sent this to the firefighters. I said, look it, over the next couple days, we're going to be record setting. So like we're pulling back on pile burning. We're cutting handline around piles. We're taking extra precautions. We're going to know people are probably going to have escape burns. And that's when they did start happening. So my argument or my explanation to the firefighters is the projected ERC value in the beginning of March of this year was equivalent to middle of June. So that's why we say like fire season is starting 2 months earlier. Now, this graph like proves that I'm right, but why I'm not right is the grass has not dried out yet. It's still a heat sink. The brush is taking on water and it's gonna sprout. So it's still a heat sink. Deciduous trees don't have their leaves yet. Okay. The conifers, different story. Evergreen's different story. So the ERC values were 2 to 3 months ahead of schedule, but the vegetation in totality was not there yet. So it was almost like a great time to do prescribed burns in some of our ecosystem. Okay, so that's what I sent to the firefighters. Okay, they just think whatever, but I'm trying to get to understand the science. Okay, because it's not going to meet red flag criteria. Okay, going.
Did you say it's not going to meet red flag?
No, because the grass is green. We don't have the wind, right? Red flag is wind and dry air for 8 hours. And you have to find it fuel moisture less than 10 and grass completely cured. Okay. So this is what causes it. Same type of graph, except it's our big logs are called our 1,000-hour dead. The gray line is the average over those 23 years. Red line, now it's inverse. We want lower values to increase fire behavior. Red is the lowest ever recorded. And you can see we're going to be record setting here pretty soon. So that's pretty much going to stay low the rest of the year, unless because the sun, right? We have such long days now and we're not getting rain. So I'm going to talk about, as I talked about last year, one of our greatest threats potentials is real forest fires. Okay, because our forests are dry. Okay, keep going. And then if you guys did want to know about the burn index, what that looks like, same type of graph, January to December, the same 23 roughly years. Gray, member is average. Red is the highest value for that day. And then blue is this year, and green is the projected. So the BI, a lot more volatility to it because it's a different type of index, but same type of trend, above average, flirting with record setting. So we're going to get fog. We're going to get cool days. A low pressure is going to come overhead. We're going to drop, trend downwards to maybe average, may not meet average. We're going to get our heat wave. It's going to spike up and set records. Okay, we're going to get a wind event without rain. It's going to be record setting. Okay, and this stuff happens every year, but if no fire happens, people don't realize it. We had some crazy numbers, crazy indices, greater than Kincaid, greater than Tubbs, no fire happened. Okay, but no one knew because no fire happened. Okay, so just be careful. This is where we're going to be at. Okay, all right. So then we go to the last couple here. This is what I've been trying to explain it last couple of years. Is same graph. The historical fire season was July 1st to roughly mid-September. Ben and I used to get hired back in the 90s as seasonal firefighters. That was our fire season, 12, 14 weeks, maybe a little longer. Okay. It wasn't the year-round fire season or anything like that. Okay. And so if you look at that, July 1st to mid-September, and you look at what the ERC value would be, it's right about here, which is our 80th percentile. So that's the summer fire season. You can see obviously that we are approaching summer fire season ERC values now. So early start. And then remember, as we go to the fall winter, is it going to rain first or is it going to be windy first? Okay. Or if it does rain, are we going to then have dry period for 3 months? And so that's why I'm calling the winter, spring, fall, winter more of an event fire season. It's windy for 3 days versus it's a persistent summer fire season. Okay. So outlook wise, the summer fire season going to start earlier. When is it going to end? Well, you guys got to tell me, is it going to be windy first or is it going to rain first? That's what it's going to come down to. And even if everything operates normally, we still have the potential for fires year round. So the last slides are the summary. Well, here's the official CAL FIRE forecast for not just Sonoma County, but they put out a 4-month outlook. I think the news picked up on this a couple days ago, but May is looking to be average, which is surprising. Back in March, they said above average, but then we had the rain in April. So May is average. Look at June, whole Bay Area goes above. July, east side of Sonoma County is above, but it's not everything, probably because we're going to hopefully get the coastal fog in the summer. The warmer it gets interior. Yeah, Brooke put the link up for it. And then same thing goes into August. So we'll see what September, October, November bring. Okay, we can keep going.
It's surprising how Southern California seems to be regular.
And then a lot of their fires are brush fires too,
right?
Brush and wind. Yeah. Okay. I've covered most of this, so let's save time and go through that and get to the last couple things here. All right. You guys should know there's always going to be wildfires. We're in a Mediterranean climate. Right. You guys know seasons and everything. The potential varies daily and seasonally, depending on weather, topography, and fuels. We are least efficient or successful when containing high intensity wildfires. And most of our fires now are burning at high intensity, which is those ecologically damaging fires. And more firefighters are needed during fast moving wildfires. So wind driven wildfires, okay? Large wildfires, because there's just so much of perimeter we got to try to control, contain. And when there are many wildfires at once, siege scenario, lightning. Okay, Southern California is a bunch of fires right now. They're calling help. Northern California is going to help them. But not all those wildfires burn at high intensity. So Walbridge is an example in 2020. There are some areas of the Walbridge that burned, in my opinion, burned how they would have burned naturally or historically. Okay. It wasn't all catastrophic, high intensity, high severity. Okay. So, 2 more slides. So, early June, okay, which June's in 2 weeks from now. It's earlier than normal, but it's, I hate to say it, becoming our new norm. Okay. So, and that's because our grass crop will eventually dry out. We'll lose all that green tint to it. You guys are noticing, right? Poor soil conditions, full exposure, south aspects, they're drying out. Underneath the trees, still relatively green, north aspects. Okay. And then this has been a more of a climate thing, but our burn window, which may just be the afternoon, now goes into the night because we are not getting the cooler temperatures, higher relative humidity at night. Okay, so longer burn window. So where firefighters owned the night, fire owns the day, firefighters may not always own the night. Okay, so that's going to pose problems. And then remember that big unknown. What's the fall going to bring? Okay. And then there's that normal 2 weeks of heat, cooler, and that's because of high and low pressures, just how our Mediterranean climate works here. Of high pressures come in like now, replaced by a low pressure, cooler air, okay? And that's when we get the fog, don't get the fog, gets warm, that's your high and low pressures.
Do you guys get the predictions for the Diablo winds for those abnormal wind events? Do you get like a 24-hour or a?
Usually we could have up to a 7 days notice.
Really? Okay.
But it won't get pushed out publicly.
Yeah.
It's like 3 or 4 days ahead.
Old ladies want to have that.
It's the area forecast discussion, National Weather Service. Keep going to the last two. So I broke it down this way. Grass fires happen every year because these annual grasses dry out. Okay, they're gonna burn. So not much we can do about that other than weed eat them or graze them, change them from a vertical fuel to a horizontal fuel. Brush fires, remember that's more a function of that normal seasonal growth thing, heat source, heat sink. And then looking at the geysers graph, here's the actual numbers. We're trending a little bit behind, meaning where they would have got new growth earlier, flowered earlier, we're trending behind. So I think that's going to extend a little bit into the summer fire season, and they're going to be a heat sink a little bit longer than they normally would be. Now, I'm not going to go out there and try to let brush on fire to prove this, but that's what I think is going to happen. So we're not going to have a bad brush fire season until later in the summer.
So those grass and brush fires are really what ignites the forest fires.
Yeah. Well, remember all these things are mixed together,
Yeah.
but the next slide will be the forest. This is what I think is our greatest exposure because of all that accumulation of fuel that's now dry. And
Or dead.
Or dead. Yeah.
Diseased.
Yep. Then just as a caveat, there's always that potential for that one bad afternoon, a short duration fire that threatens a lot of homes really quickly.
So your definition of forest, is that inclusive of the melange or the mixed forest? We have the oaks mixed with the fir trees.
So on your property, some of the property I've seen, so look at what's going to carry the fire. The oak woodland, if it's been limbed up and the trees are spaced, that's a grass fire in my opinion. But if you have like mixed hardwood, now you got conifer encroachment, and you got a bunch of maybe the man's and other stuff underneath it, that's a forest.
Bay bushes.
Yeah, that's a forest.
Okay.
And some of my messaging has been simpler now in fire safe meetings. I say we want our fires to always stay on the surface of the earth, but I also don't want bare dirt. So we either want to have managed grass that's been managed fires, or just timber litter duff fires. Bad thing is we're going to be able to put those out, which means we're not, someone else is going to have to do the work of managing that fuel accumulation.
So then looking at, go ahead, Dee, I'm sorry.
That's okay. What is the definition for your work of forest?
Forest, anything where the trees will, it's tree to tree burning, tree carries the fire. If you have grass underneath trees, that's grass fire. So oak woodland.
I'm not talking about fire, I'm talking about a forest definition.
I would use the same as in the forest practice rules.
Okay.
I'll chime in there and let you know that it's 10% canopy cover is the minimum.
That's what I understood.
Aren't the forest practice rules like even says like one tree or something?
Per acre?
It's land capable of growing a commercial crop of trees with at least 10% native cover.
From a firefighter point of view, we look at what carries the fire. So it's either a grass fire, a brush fire, or the whole forest.
Okay, thank you.
But remember, this could all be intermixed too.
Sure. So just looking at all of this, Marshall, and can we like intersect all of this fuel work that we're doing? You know, and so it's not going to really affect whether we're going to have fires or not, but it should be able to help contain the fires so that they're not out of hand.
Right, I see two main benefits of all the work, right? Maybe you stop the fire from ever happening. Probably not. So when the fire does happen, it's more likely, or you've increased the possibility it burns more of how it historically, naturally would have burned. Which also means that it's easier for us to put out, right? So it's staying on the surface of the earth. It's not getting up in the tops of the trees, or if it does burn one tree, it's not going treetop to treetop. So that's the best thing. So, right, my position is we have the 20 deadliest, the 20 largest, the 20th most destructive. We should definitely have like the 20 most ecologically damaging.
Yeah.
And we don't. Because, you know, it's not about the trees, it's about the water, it's about the soil, it's about everything.
Well, you're working on that. Adding that.
Bring ecosystem.
All right, so hopefully I gave you guys. Yeah. It's similar to previous years, similar stuff. It's just, you know,
more intense.
Yeah. Well, it's all about that rain and the seasons, right? Not having normal
wind.
seasons where we get rain into the first part of June. And hopefully we get fog this summer.
So I had a comment.
Go
Thanks,
ahead, Brooke.
Marshall. Yeah,
Couple
I just
questions.
want to say the last series of charts that Marshall shared with us is available to the public through that Northern Geographic Area Coordination Center. So you can pull up those graphs and kind of.
Can't hear you, Brooke.
What Brooke is saying is those graphs I showed are at the Northern California or North Ops Geographic Coordination Center. Brooke, put that in the chat. Did I get it right, Brooke?
Yeah, I'm trying to boost things up. Can you hear me now?
That's better. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, I'll just yell. The last thing I wanted to say was, you know, the way I use that ERC chart is whenever it looks like we're moving into the 80th percentile or 90th, where the background is kind of that beige moving into orange or red. Whenever we're moving into that, that's kind of when I pay attention to my pulse point and my watch duty. And if we're in the orange and red, I'll turn on the scanner because that's when we have the potential for a quickly developing fire. And I want to be aware of what's going on. So just FYI to folks out there.
Thank you, Brooke. Jason.
Marshall, thanks for doing the presentation. Always a great one. Wanted to kind of get some more insights there on what I have kind of a two-part question. One would be like, what are the outcomes of an ecologically damaging burn? When you're referencing that, what do you kind of, if you could elaborate on what sort of burn conditions are ecologically damaging? And then I'm also curious if you've seen changes in fire behavior based on invasive species, right? Because your categories are very clear, you know, grass, brush, tree canopy. I'm wondering, you know, how invasive plants might impact that.
Yeah, so the first question, and remember, I'm a firefighter, and let's be talking too much about forest stuff, but ecologically damaging would be that mainly the forest, because grass is probably going to come back as grass. The forest never gets back to that stage ever again. So I don't know if you guys have noticed some of the burn scars, burn areas, you know, it may take hundreds of years to get back to the forest that it was before, but I think it never will because of what's going on with climate too. So are we damaging the soil? You know, shade, even invasives coming in now and increased competition that it's basically, if we're doing forest practice, we've just done a legal conversion. It's never going to be back to what it was. So that's what I look at it. And then the other possibility is a fire going to happen like 3 or 5 years later and even be more ecologically damaging too. So yeah, that's how I look at the ecological damage stuff.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Oh, sorry, I just want to chime in on that, like, because I see, you know, a lot of the hardwoods bouncing back, with the exception of blue oak, right? It seems like when those blue oaks roast, they stay dead.
Even black oaks now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah, so are we gonna lose some of that oak woodland that'll be now more of the hardwoods? I don't know. Invasive species, absolutely. Mainly we talk about the broom, but even just having the Douglas fir or conifers coming in on the hardwoods has had an effect. But I don't know. I'm not an expert on the conifer encroachment right now, but it appears to me most of the Douglas fir conifer encroachment's almost dying on its own because of the climate situation. But conifers coming into hardwoods as an invasive are changing how the oak woodlands are burnt or have burnt.
Or how they're coming back. We see them coming back up on our ridge all over right now.
The oaks.
The oaks,
Yeah.
Right.
So we're getting more oak woodland back.
Mhm.
All right, Marshall, thank you very much for your presentation.
Yeah, thank you.
Marshall, between your presentation and the fundraising one, you're top dog on that. So thank you for that. Appreciate that. All right, we just have a couple other items that we wanted to touch base on. We have a field event that Jason has been scheduling to get us up to Dry Creek to get a chance to see it on the ground. The logistics are to start at the site at 10 o'clock. Is that correct?
That's right. I'd like to recommend like a half an hour. Give yourself a half an hour from Healdsburg to get up to the ridge because it's pretty far up there.
Okay. And then it'll last about 2 hours and then we'll be allowed to go home.
Yeah, it's an hour in, an hour out, and then we have the option of a shaded picnic lunch. I wish I could cook for everyone, but it's bring your own, and it's under the redwoods there in a nice tributary of Palmer Creek. So hopefully be a nice cool day. And the landowner out there, Steve Lundberg's a great guy, and he's been doing a lot of work, and he can speak to the pre and post Wallbridge fire conditions out there. And I'll be showing, pretty much the impact of a large scale manual removal of French broom understory treatment and talk treatment options and considerations out there.
That sounds great. The timing is for May 30th. And I wanted to get a sense if we could get a poll to see how many folks are able to get there, and it doesn't have to be immediately. I just want Rose to be able to receive emails from folks to ensure we have a good critical mass, so we're not wasting the landowner's time or your time. So we'll do that offline. And Rose, if you could send an email to Rose saying, yeah, I'm in, that would be great. Looks like Ben, you got a hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to put it out there to the crowd that this would be a perfect opportunity to visualize what Marshall was talking about based on different weather types and conditions at the time of the fire. So as anybody who goes out to the event, as you go out to the end of Mill Creek Road, you drive through areas that have been devastated by fire, and all of a sudden you're back into an area that had very minimal fire impact. And then you're back into an area that had significant fire and back into an area that's minimal fire impact. And so what that is representing is those afternoon runs that we experienced for 3-ish days during that event, where you had an alignment of the afternoon winds with the topography and fuels that created control issues for the firefighters. And then in the evening, when that wind would die down, the fire would become a much lower intensity fire, skunking through the undergrowth and then picking back up the next day. So just a really good live classroom on what those different conditions do for fire spread.
Great, thank you, Ben. Appreciate that. And then finally, on June 2nd, the county executive officer will be presenting the wildfire and climate resilience strategy for Sonoma County. This is the result of the work that we've been able to do with a lot of different technical advisory committees within the county, and being able to look at what's been working well and how do we improve it. And then that recommendation would be going to the Board of Supervisors to determine how we can get additional funding out to the different partners using the remainder of the PG&E settlement
And
funds.
who's presenting that?
The county executive officer.
And that'll be where and when?
It'd be Yvonne Shu and Crystal Carrejero. And then they'll it's on June 2nd, and usually I think it's at 10:30. I haven't seen the agenda yet. It'll be at the chambers, the
Okay, yeah,
county
that's right.
Board of Supervisors chambers.
Oh, okay. I'm like,
All right, and if I get the board item, I'll share it to the Forest Working Group, okay? All right, so I think it's close to time. Thank you, folks, for joining us online. We really appreciate your participation. Thank you for all those who came in person. This is probably our maxed crowd in the house since COVID started. So we welcome you guys in the future. This is always open to the public, and we're glad you're able to join us. And thank you, Marshall.
Thank
And
you, Marshall.
Keela.
you have to run to have a doctor, but you'll let me know. Yeah, we'll hear from